Hello guys, my name is Anonymous, or Zaloris, or Vincent, whichever one you want to call me. Today I'm going to be doing a Blender 2.8 Halo 5 tutorial. This is for armor. Before we get started in this tutorial, there is a zip file in the description just like last time, and all you need to do is download that, and it will have all the Halo 5 textures and armors in the folder. After you download that, then we can go ahead and get started, so I'll give you just a second. Alright, so first things first, go to wherever you save the files at. So I'm going to go ahead and go File, and then Append. Alright, not Import, go to File, Append. Go to wherever the files are at. It'll be Halo 5 tutorial files. Choose Halo 5 rigs. Go to Object, and either choose the male or female rig. I'm going to use the male. Alright, so now that we have the male rig here, we can go ahead and delete everything else in the scene. And we can drag the male rig over to the center just by holding control, and then it'll snap right to there. Now that you've done that, go ahead and go File, Import Wavefront OBJ. Go into Halo 5 Armor Shizzle, and just choose whichever armor you want. I'm going to be going with Recruit, because it is one of the more common ones and it's a bit more difficult to rig. So go ahead and import the male or whichever one you have. Now if you are using the female, there's something you have to do with some female armors and it can be quite annoying. So basically they're in pieces and you just have to shift click on one of the parts like this, and then hit Control J, and it'll bring them together, and then it'll all be one model. So that's just something you gotta watch out for. The female ones will also have multiple materials. You just have to minus all them out. Anyways, so go ahead and import whichever helmet you want. I'm gonna be doing Recruit. Now that you have this in here, what I'm gonna go ahead and show you is how to do weighted normals. So in Blender 2.8, they actually have a dedicated weighted normals modifier. So you just gotta go to here, go to normals, make sure auto smooth is checked, go to weighted normals, make it face area at angle, click apply, go to the helmet, set it to smooth shaving. I go to object smooth shade, go down here and turn auto smooth on, then do weighted normals again, face area and angle, and you don't have to go through that on the actual visor, but I mean you can if you want to. It's completely up to you. I'm going ahead and doing it. Alright, so now that you're this far, what you will notice is that the tech suit in the actual packed file, it already has a material on it. So I'll show you how to tweak the colors on that. Also, if you want to view it, just click this one. And yeah, so anyways, now what I want you to do is I want you to select the armor and then shift select the rig, hit Control P with empty groups. Alright, next thing you're going to do is hit 1 on your keyboard and use the scroll wheel to scroll out, hold shift and click in on your scroll wheel to center the view just like this. Hit tab and it'll bring you into edit mode. You can go ahead and hit Z and choose wireframe. You can either choose it or hit 4. And now you're going to deselect everything. Okay, so using L on your keyboard, you can hover over specific parts of a mesh and select them, like so. So that's what I'm going to be doing here, is using L to select all of these pieces right through here. I'm leaving this bottom one simply because I'm going to do a little bit different on it than I am with this chest piece. So after you do that, you're just going to come over here and scroll to the top, find chest, and hit assign. Then hide. Now on this piece here, you're gonna change the weight to 0.8. On the chest, hit assign, then choose spine and change the weight to 0.2 and hit assign. Now change it back to 1 and you can go ahead and hide this piece. On this next little crotch piece, it's gonna be kind of the same deal. You're gonna choose spine and you're gonna set the weight to like 0.7 and click assign. Then you're going to choose hips and change the weight to 0.3, then click assign. You can go ahead and hide that and set this back to 1. Now, you can select this butt plate and make sure you select all these little pieces with it. Assign it to the hips 100%. Moving on down, we're going to select this. And what you're going to do is you can sort by name. Scroll down till you find Thigh Armor L. Click Assign. Then you can choose this one and do Thigh Armor R and click Assign. Next, you're going to choose this bottom piece, not the top one. You're going to find Shin Armor L, click Assign. Then you're also going to find Shin Armor R for the other side and click Assign. Now for this middle piece, what you're going to do is you're going to do 0.6 for the Shin Armor part. And you can click Alt A to deselect it. And you're going to do that on both sides of the Shin Armor. And then you're going to change this weight to 0.4 and assign it to the Thigh Armor. So Thigh Armor L, assign, Thigh Armor R, assign. And you can hide both of those and change this back to 1. So if you're wondering what that did, if we go ahead and choose and hit Z, then choose solid and hit tab. You could also just rotate your view out and select this and hit Control Tab. What you'll notice is whenever you move the knees, instead of it sticking out, it actually sort of sticks to the knees. Now it does have some scaling issues, but that's normal in most cases. And with this, what you'll notice is it sort of sticks instead of just floating, which is a problem that a lot of times we encounter with this sort of stuff. Alright, so you can go ahead and hit Control Tab, select your armor again, hit 1, and hit Tab yet again. Hit Z, either choose it or hit 4. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is assigning the arms. So, you're going to select this bottom piece right here, and you're going to assign it to bicep, I believe I have it set as, yeah, bicep L, and you can go ahead and hide it, and do the same thing for bicep R. And then you're going to choose, for this one, it's going to be bicep armor L. And then for this side, bicep armor R. Go ahead and sign. Now, for recruit specifically, on these arm pieces, there is a lot that you have to select. So, as you can see, I'm trying to make sure that I get every one of these little pieces that goes with the forearm armor here, to make sure that it's all going to move properly. And I just move it out, then left click to snap it back. And all you're going to do is choose forearm armor L, click Assign, then hide. And then you're just going to copy the exact same thing on this side, making sure that you don't miss any of these little pieces. Because if you miss one, then you have to go back into edit mode and figure out which one you missed. And you won't be able to tell until the end of the process, and it's just really, really annoying in the end. But you can go ahead and assign that there. And then we can go ahead and choose all these bits here and assign them to hand L. And then do the same thing for hand R. So what we're going to do is we're going to tab back out and use your middle mouse wheel to rotate. Do Z, choose solid, grab your rig, hit Control Tab, and we're going to check to make sure everything's moving nicely. And so far so good. And if you notice here, it rotates properly according to what it should, and it can actually move up and down too with how I have it set up. This one also rotates just for a little bit more control over what you're doing. Same thing with the shin armor, by the way. It sort of rotates, although I don't know why you would want to. But anyways, so next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select our armor again. Hit 1, hit Z, choose wireframe, and hit tab. Now, I'm going to rotate out of my view here, and I'm going to go ahead and select this heel piece and this top piece, and I'm going to assign it to foot L. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, assign it to foot R. Then on this middle piece, I'm going to do 0.4 and assign it to foot L. Click Alt A to deselect. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, assigning it to foot R. And I'm going to change it to 0.6. And I'm going to assign it to toe R and toe L. And you can go ahead and hide it after that time. This bottom piece is going to be 100% toe L, toe R. Next thing we're going to do is move up to our fingers. And what you're going to do now is you're going to go over here and say sort by bone heterocy. Then you're going to scroll down, or up in this case, to where it says middle L. You can extend this down a little bit if you would like. And you're going to select middle L. Now you're just going to go down the list, assigning and hiding as you need to. As you can see, with the way it's set up, the number 1 finger is at the base of the hand, and the number 3 finger is the farthest joint away from the hand. So that's how I'm just assigning it. I'm going down the finger each time. It's really simple. The fingers are named properly. And you're going to go over to the other side and do literally the exact same thing. So only difference is you're going to scroll down to where it says middle R, and boom, just start from there going down the list. Sometimes these pinkies can be a little bit difficult. In some rare cases, you will have armor that sits on the knuckles. All you're going to do is use palm 1 through palm 4, 1 being here and 4 being here, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's just for knuckle armor, although you should never really have to have that. So now you can hit Alt H and hit Tab. Go ahead and select your helmet. Well, first off, go into solid view. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select your helmet, then select your rig, hit Control P with empty groups. You can do the same thing with the visor, selecting it first, then selecting the rig, and choosing Control P with empty groups. Next, hit Tab, hit A twice, choose Head, Assign, you can tab out, do the same thing here. You actually have to hit A 3 times with Blender 2.8 and assign it to the head. Now that you've done that, you should be able to go into pose mode by hitting Control Tab and moving around the pelvis, and everything should work flawlessly. You can also check all of the other bones just to be sure. And if you come down here and rotate your feet bones, you'll notice that it moves perfectly. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up your materials. So we're going to go click the Shading tab. Give it a second to load. You can go ahead and click it a second time and it'll reload the materials. And now what you're going to do is you're going to select your armor. And if you have female, you notice there's a lot of materials here. Just click the minus button on them, and eventually they'll go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here until I find the male tech suit material. I'm going to click this number 2 on it, and I'm going to change it to where it says armor. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this little unpack button. I'm going to click open. Now I'm going to go to where I got the recruit model at, and there'll be a whole bunch of textures. Now, you see these numbers and you probably don't understand what they mean. So, if you'll just go back to the original files for the Halo 5 tutorial, you'll notice that there is a Halo 5 armor sheet. Now, if you open that armor sheet, it'll have a whole list of numbers. So, if you notice, whenever we find recruit here, recruit 002S00 is normal recruit, 002S001 is recruit chard, and so on and so forth. The numbers line up. So I just want normal recruit. So I'm gonna import all the textures that have this number right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these first three, and then I'm also going to select these three. Also right here it'll tell you whether it's for the helmet or the body, so you can just keep that in mind for future reference. All you have to do to find the rest of the textures is type in 002. So you can notice that it says body and helmet, so we want the body control to go here, and we want the body normal to go right here. Alright, so that texture or material is completely set up. The next thing we're going to do is find the armor material, and we're going to place it on the helmet just by clicking this little drop down, finding it, and clicking on it. We're going to hit the number 2, change this one's name to helmet. This time, whenever we search and we type in 002, we're going to instead select the things that say helmet. Boom. Now you have a helmet material that is set up perfectly. For the visor, I'm going to have a special .blend in the tutorial files that I don't currently have in it that will have the Halo 5 materials for you that are pretty much, I'll have it set up for the weapons and everything else, which is not going to be in this, but I'll have little labels beside it, that way you can tell which is which. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and append the visor materials from one that I already did, which I should have already had it set up by now, but I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and just place the visor on here. Whenever you import it, it's going to be basically the same deal, just typing in 002, selecting the diffuse for here, the control for here, and the normal for here. Now you have completely set up Halo 5 armor. If you want to change the colors on the armor, all you gotta do is move these first two sliders, and you can hover over this, hit Control C and hit Control V, and it'll paste it. So you can even go into each of the materials and hit Control V if you want your Spartan to be green for some reason, and change it. You can even right here change the visor tones. So what this does, and let me hide this so you can get a better example, is let's say I have this set to green. This second one is for the second tone. So if I wanted to have green and red for some ungodly reason, I could. And it's really quite simple. It just takes some time with messing around with it in order to achieve whatever effect it is that you really want. I would advise against setting anything to pure black. Nothing in Halo 5 is 100% black. It usually runs around there. So whatever this color is, 39, 39, 39, that's usually what black is in Halo 5. And on the visor you can just change it to whatever else you want. Alright, so now you have your Spartan rigged and the materials set up for it. The next thing on our list will be animation. So, in order to animate, all you need to do is select the rig, hit Control Tab, and go ahead and click this little automatic keyframe insertion button. Select everything, hit I, and choose Lockrot Scale. Now, any other movement that you do will be automatically keyframed. So, let's say you want to have a Spartan that's just sort of, I don't know, standing here. You can go ahead and position him however you want him, or her, depending on what the Spartan that you were using. And you can just set him up to where he's standing there. And then if you want him to, let's say, raise his hand, you can go forward 30 frames and raise his hand. If you want to have him point, you can just select the fingers you want to rotate around. Hit R twice, rotate them in. Sometimes it doesn't work exactly right, probably because I don't have individual origins set, but it's okay. Go ahead and have him point his finger out. And now, between these two frames, he'll point. So if you want to make it maybe a little bit more detailed, have him sort of look up, not maybe have his hand not be so stationary. You can have him point, and then yeah, that's basically all there is to animating. Like, it's not that difficult if you know anything about animating. This is really all you have to do. If you're doing a walk cycle, you can look up, how to change the keyframe interpolation and all of that sort of good stuff. I'm not going to cover that in this video though. So anyways, now that you have your amazing animation, you need to add some lights to it. So all you need to do is tab out of pose mode by hitting Control Tab. Hit A 3 times or twice depending on how fast you click it. Then we're going to go and enable this, which is basically the shading mode. This is how it'll look rendered. Now it probably looks a bit bland right now, and that's because I just have this really basic background setup going here. Nothing too fancy, and this is not what you want. So what you really want to do is get a spotlight by going Shift A, then adding a spotlight and placing it wherever you want it. So in this case, I'm going to use it right about here. Let me just raise it up a little bit. I'm going to turn up its intensity to something more like 50. I'm going to go into the spotlight settings and turn on contact shadows and turn up the bias just a tiny bit. Also, make sure you have soft shadows enabled here by going to this tab and then clicking down on the shadows and enabling soft shadows. Another thing I'm going to add is a sun lamp. What a sun lamp is it basically provides lighting to a pretty large area, and you can just kind of change the angle on it and whatnot to whatever you would like. I'm going to do something like this, turn this up to 50, turn on contact shadows, actually I'm going to turn that down a bit from 50. I'm going to turn it to something like 20, maybe make it completely red because, why not? Make this blue, you're going from some sort of weird effect. I don't know what people would want to do. You can just go ahead and set up your lighting basically however you want. There's not much to setting up lighting in this. It's really quite simple. Only thing you'll really need to do is just play around with settings some to get the desired effect that you want. And yeah, that's basically all you got to do for lighting. Next thing you want to do is add a camera, because in order to do animation you need a camera. You can add the camera, then hit Control Alt 0, then hit Shift and the button at the top left of your keyboard that looks like a squiggly line. I don't know what it's called. You're gonna use that button, and basically you can then move the camera around freely using W, A, S, and D, and then E for up and Q for down. You can also scroll the mouse wheel up to move faster and scroll it down to move slower. So I'm just going to go ahead and position my camera right here, and then I'm going to go to frame 30 where he points, and I'm going to move my camera back to here, hit R, and I'm going to give it some weird rotation just because I can. So that's my animation, as you can see. It's pretty lame, but we're gonna go with it. Right here, I'm gonna set my end to whatever frame it is that you want your animation to end. So right here, I'm gonna set this to 30. Now that I have it set to 30, I can go ahead and put this back in solid view. I'm gonna go to playback. I'm gonna change it to frame dropping, and I'm gonna hit the space bar, and it'll play my animation. And if you leave spacebar on, it'll just play it in an infinite loop. So after that, you're going to want to render. Now, if you're just wanting to render an image, all you need to do is go right here, make sure your percentage is at 100. I would go back into the render tab and set the render samples at something like 30. Next, if you're just rendering an image, just choose PNG, select your output. You can do color depth 16, whatever. You would hit render, then render image, and that would be it. But in this case, we're rendering a video. So what you want to do is you want to choose file format, choose FMPEG video. A little encoding tab will pop up. Press the little arrow, change the container from Matroska to MPEG-4. And change the output quality from medium quality to high quality. You can also change the encoding speed however you want to. I'm going to leave it at good because it seems to do very good. And if you have audio, you can just use it here. If you want to import audio, that would be a topic for another tutorial. All you need to do is just look up Blender, how to import audio, and there are several tutorials out there for it. Next thing you're going to want to do is select your output path. So I'm just going to output this to my desktop and click accept. Then you'll hit render and render animation. And basically, as you can tell here, it will render each frame sample by sample. Now, if you were rendering an image, you can go ahead, if you want the background to be transparent, go to film and choose alpha transparent. That way whenever you hit render image and it rendered the image for you, then it would be transparent. So you just have your Spartan with a transparent background. You can also I don't know how well the transparent background will work. I don't know the video format that works with it, but if you do know the video format that'll work with it, you can just play around with the settings here. Whichever one of these would work with a transparent background, boom, use it. Or you can export as an image sequence. So you would just choose PNG, and then you would hit render animation, and it would export each one of your images. And then you could use a program to put the images together. That way that it makes a video. Which, that's a more reliable way in some cases. But I found that doing it just using FMPEG video and going this route is a whole lot easier than doing the other way. Because the other way is not fun. But that's pretty much all you need to know in order to set up Halo 5 stuff. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll probably be making more videos, maybe going into more detail on the animation and lighting and animating part if you want me to. But anyways, that's it, and just make sure to download the files and everything will be set up nicely for you. And I hope you guys really enjoy the video. And yeah. Hey Jared, I want to die.
Please do it quick, 'cause I gotta pee.